In this exercise, I'll be creating a more complex example of adaptive component, and we are going to use a more complex surface to put our components on. So first I'll create a new mass object in Revit. So let's go to our elevation, and what I want to do is create more levels. Let's say this is going to be a horizontal building, so I'll just create 3 more levels. Let's create 1 more, and this is going to be a horizontal facade, so it's going to be pretty long as well. And let's go to let's select these levels and activate them as floor plans. So I'll go to the View tab, Plan Views, Floor Plan, and I want to add all of these to my selection. And now what I can do is maybe we have an idea or a grid or a site already, but let's say let's create some simple references for ourselves. So I'll place a grid line here, and then another grid line here, and let's say this is going to be the total width of my building, and the building is going to be 120 feet. And let's say the horizontal and let's say the thickness of it is going to be 30 feet. And I'm just going to work on the facade, so this will be enough reference for me. And let's go to Massing and Site and do In Place Mass, and let's call it Mass 1. And I'll use the model line and create a rectangular shape here, and I can lock it to these lines. Click on Finish Mass. Actually, I forgot to do, let's go to our 3D view. I want to extrude this, so Edit In Place, select the lines, and Create Form, and finish the mass. So now if I go to the elevation view, it already created the mass object according to level 5. So what we could do is drag the top portion and lock it to level 5 as well. So now it's locked in place. Let's go back to level 3, 3D view. And what I want to do now is to create some profiles on the top and middle section and the bottom section, so that this will become an undulating surface. And let's say we go to Edit In Place for our mass, select the whole mass again, and then I want to add a profile. And let's say we add a profile here, and I hit escape. And now what I want to do is select these profiles, go to Edit Profile, and now I can delete these lines, and then using the Spline tool I could specify the section that I want my surface to be. So maybe it goes inside here a little bit, then it comes outside. Let's say that's the top portion of that surface. Let's go to 3D view again, and after I'm done with it, I hit check. So Revit will automatically update the surface, and now you will see that it's curved towards the top. And I want to add a profile at the bottom and in the middle as well. So I have this profile now. I'll do the same thing, go to Edit Profile, select this profile and delete it. Let's go to level 3 this time, and click on the model line, spline, and by looking at the movement of the surface I can add some more complexity here. So maybe this time it goes out and inside. That one is done. So now it's getting more dramatic with the undulation, and I'll do the final thing to the bottom So I'll go to edit profile again, and I'll delete this line, go to level 1, I'll go to model line again, and the spline tool. So this one would be pretty simple. So let's say we have a little bulge in the middle. So now I created my undulating surface. Now this one is pretty much ready, but I want to show what happens when we divide this surface. So I'll go to divide surface option, and now you will see that it's the lines are being distorted according to the movement, and maybe we want to change the number of divisions. So maybe we select the U-grid to be divided according to a distance, and that distance, let's say our panels are going to be 2 feet wide. Actually this is horizontal, so let's make it per floor. So I think my floor height is 10 feet, so I'll just make this to be 10 feet. And let's make the other direction 2 feet. So now this will add more lines like that way. And if I'm not happy with this undulation, let's say you want this to have more curvature, we could simply select the section profiles again, go to edit profile, and I can select this curve here, go to plan view, and then I can move it around. So I can even add more deviation here to this curve, add more control points as well, and then Revit will automatically recalculate it. So now it's kind of giving me more interesting distortion here. And let's say we want to work with this. Now I finished the mess, and I want to create a new component here. So I'll go to Revit, New, Family, and I'm going to select Curtain Panel Pattern Based again. And for this one I'm going to work with a 1-2 family. So if you go to the properties on the top, I've selected the blue line, and I select 1-2 step, and this will create 6 adaptive points. And what I want to do is a folded surface here with some profile. So for that one I need to specify 2 points here. So I'll click on the point element, and then I need to specify a work plane. So I'll specify this horizontal work plane and place it there. And I want to specify another one here, place it there. Now if I select my point object and go down here, I have an offset value. That is the offset value from that plane. I can also move it up and see the change in the offset value as well. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Find a point, use the tab key, go through your elements. It's not finding the point. Yeah, there it is. I'm going to specify it again. Let's go set work plane, this work plane, and place our point. It's giving me an error, so probably there's a point there already. Let's delete that one. Try to find the other point. I think this is the other point. So if I go to the offset value, it doesn't have an offset value, so probably it didn't recognize it. So I'll just delete that point and do it again. Yeah, that was the point. So let's go ahead and click on the point again and set point, set the work plane, and I want this horizontal work plane and locate it there. and you have to select that point again. Then let's move it up. Now I have these 2 points that have some offset values. So if I select this point here and go to the offset value, maybe we want to associate it to a parameter. So I can simply click on this gray button next to it and add a parameter. So let's say this is offset 1, and that has to be an instance parameter because it's going to change for every panel. And hit OK. Do the same thing for the other point and specify a new parameter, offset 2, hit instance, OK. And now I have 2 parameters that control the height of those 2 points. And maybe we want to be this more adaptive, so maybe we want to use the width and the height of the panel to inform the heights of those points. So I'm going to go to the Home tab and create some align dimensions. And if you have watched the previous tutorial, these align dimensions need to be on the horizontal plane here. So I think this should still work. So let's try placing it there, because it's not recognizing the. Let's try this one. Actually, my bad. When we do the angular align dimension, I need to specify the work plane. So I go to set work plane, and that work plane needs to be on this line. The dashed line is the plane. So these 2 points might not be aligned in 3D, so we need to get the aligned location regardless. So if I, for instance, let's try moving that point if we can. I don't think it's giving me the option. Actually, we can move it, yeah. If you look at it this way, you will see that when I move this point in 3D, this dimension still reads the width that is on this plane here. So it will give me an accurate value. If you don't do this, it will read the projection of it, which might create some problems. So this is the accurate way of constructing your geometry. And I'll do the same thing for these 2 here. So I'll go to the align tool, set work plane, set on this line from this point to that point. The reason why the height parameter needs to be in 2 portions is because the total height is divided up into 2, and these 3 points might not be aligned. So we need to do it in 2 segments. So I'll do this point and that point. And this is going to be a parameter, so it's going to be, let's say, h1, and it's going to be an instance and reporting parameter. It's going to read it from the surface directly. And this one as well. So that's going to be h2, instance and reporting parameter. And this one is going to be my width parameter. So I'll do w for it, instance reporting. Now that I've specified those, I could go back to my family types. And if you look here, I have the w, the width, as reporting parameter. So maybe we want to use the offset 2 value to be informed by half of it. So maybe it's going to change depending on the width. And for offset 1, maybe we want it to be informed by the sum of the total height divided by 2. And that will specify a dimension as well. So when I say apply and hit OK, you will see that the points are now displaced. And maybe this is a bit too high, so I'll go back to the type properties and change these divisions to be either 4 or 3. I'll go with 4. So now they're a bit lower. And now, before I finish my geometry, I'll go to reference line, and then I need to turn on 3D snapping so that I can snap to these points, and then go from this point to that point, and then same thing on the other side. So these are going to be my profiles. Now I could simply loft this and create a geometry. So let's try to finish our panel. So I'll just select this line and that line and I'll click on create form, and it will create this folded surface for me. And I'm going to move this point down so that we don't have any problems there. So let's move it back to the grid. So it seems to be working. So I'll just save this as folded panel to my desktop, and I'm going to load it into the project, and let's try to create it on the surface. So now if I select the surface, edit in place, and I select this surface that we have subdivided and go to the pattern, and my folded panel is there. So I'll just select it, and Revit will calculate the geometry for me. Now the geometry came as horizontal panels, so maybe we want the subdivision to be the other direction. So I'll go and change the rotation to be horizontal. Let's see, we have fixed distance in new direction, and let's see if this is going to work. Let's rotate the panel by 90 degrees. So now I have placed them vertically, but we might want to do some adjustments as well, because maybe subdivisions we want it to be denser. So I can select the surface, and the U-grid is right now set to 10, and this is set to 2, so maybe we want this to be 10 instead and this to be 2, and hit apply. So now we will have more vertical subdivisions, and the pieces are going to be more stretched between floors. So this is how my surface came about. So because it's complex, it's kind of opening up here really nicely, and I have some problems here that I need to fix as well. So these panels are not totally generated, and it's kind of Revit is getting confused of where to place these points correctly, so the geometries are distorted. And we can fix that if you select the surface and go to the border tile options. Right now it's doing them partially, that's why we have weird geometries, and I'll just tell them to not generate them and leave them empty. And it's regenerating again. It will remove the half panels that we have at the bottom and at the top, and this is kind of what it's giving me now. And now we need to stitch them up. So what we need to do is create a new rectangle tile and create them in these empty tiles that we have. So I'll just go to I'll finish this mess option for now, and then we need to create a new family now and go to Revit, new family, and that's going to be curtain panel pattern based as well. And this is just going to be a simple patch, so all we need to do is just select this rectangle and create form, and Revit gives me the option of selecting between two, and I want it to be just a planar surface. And I'll save this as stitch and then load it back into my project and go back to 3D view. Now when I do stitching, I need to see the points, so I'll just select the mask, go to edit in place, select the surface, and activate the surface, and then go to surface representation. There's a little arrow here, and turn the surface nodes on so that we could see the points on the surface that are created for subdivision. And now I can go ahead and place these panels here. So if I go down under families, curtain panels, I have the folded panel that I've generated already, and I have this stitch here. So I'll click on the stitch and drag it into the surface, and I can start placing my geometry. It's kind of hard to see, so let's say we hide the component, or let me see if there's another option we could do. We could just go to wireframe view, so we could partially see where the pattern is and where the empty panels are. So I could go to stitch again and then add these panels manually. Unfortunately, these panels have to be generated manually. Actually, let me see if there's another option. Edit type, stitch, let's say finish mass, and let's look at it in shaded view. Now that's how you can create a stitched pattern. Let's select that mass again, select the surface. We have border tile, overhanging, edit type. We don't have the border tile option, so I guess they have to be placed one by one. But you can finish the panels like that, and that creates an interesting effect already. Now maybe we want to do a final touches to this surface. So if you see the surface subdivision that we used, I'll turn on the components again, and then click on finish mass. I think it will show the stitched patterns as well. Edit in place. Let's go back. Select the surface. Hide the surface. Somehow it deleted the panels, but it's okay. What I want to show is the subdivision on the surface. So if I turn on the subdivision, you will see that we have some lines here that are not fully justified. It's because the justification of the surface is controlled by this arrow here, and I don't want to move it because it will take some time to generate. But we could change the justification. Let's say you want to align the subdivision. If you go to the properties here, right now the justification is at the center, and we could specify it to be at the beginning and hit apply. Now it will get rid of either this one. I think it will get rid of this one. It needs to regenerate, but you can get rid of those subdivisions, and yeah, it got rid of this side. Let's look at the other side. That side still has a tile, which is okay. Let's get rid of the other patch as well, so I could change the justification to be at the beginning and hit apply. Now what we could do is either change the number of subdivisions vertically to make them uniform, because right now I've used the distance, so now it's changed the subdivision to be justified here and there. And maybe the vertical one, we don't want to use distance, but we want to use a number, so I can tell that I want to divide this into 4, so maybe I switch to 4, and it will recalculate these panels. And now everything is adjusted to that surface. So all I need to do is go back and add those stitching lines, and this surface will be completed. And I want to see how it looks with the perspective, and on the plan it also looks interesting. Let's go to View tab, and let's create a new camera. Let's say from here it looks to the surface. Let's say we look at the surface like this. And I'll turn on the shaded view, and you can imagine the undulating effect of this facade when the panels are stitched. And you can change these parameters as well. So if I select one of the panels, I could simply change the height influence that we had. Right click, show camera. Let's go to, let's increase this so that we see the full surface. And that will be it.